You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and this is my conversation with Rachel Bolan, who is the bassist of the band Skid Row. Now, the reason for the conversation is to promote Skid Row's upcoming tour of Australia, and there's also one date in New Zealand. I'll read out some dates. They're all in October. Thursday the 18th, they're playing Brisbane. Friday the 19th, they're playing Melbourne. Saturday the 20th, Sydney. Sunday the 21st, Perth. Tuesday the 23rd, they're playing Adelaide. And finally, Wednesday the 24th, they're playing in Auckland, New Zealand. Let's have a listen to what Rachel has to say. Here we go. Hello, mate. Andy Mackay-Smith calling for our chat. How you going?
Hey, man. How's it going?
Mate, I'm plugging away. It's a balmy. I'm in Queensland, so this is unseasonably cold. You'll probably laugh at me. It's about 9 degrees Celsius.
So that's 9. That's about... okay. Yeah, that's not really that cold.
Yeah, for us, mate, I'll tell you, let me paint a picture. Because it's 7 a.m, I'm in my dressing gown, I've got a jumper on, I've got a T-shirt underneath it, and I've got track pants on and my slippers on.
Oh, shit, that's awesome. It's so hot here, and I'm in Nashville, and it's just been so friggin' hot. We always skip spring, like in the South. It just completely skips spring. We go straight from winter into friggin' just the dead of summer.
Yeah, I know. Look, that's typically us as well in Queensland here. But we do get, I like to say, we experience about 4 to 6 weeks of actual winter. Now, I know you laugh being originally from Canada that, you know, when I say 9 degrees, it's cold. But for us, mate, it feels like it's about negative 9 degrees Celsius.
Right, yeah. I'm actually from Jersey, New Jersey, but, man, we used to get cold.
Oh, sorry, Jersey.
Cold.
I'm sorry, mate. Yeah, my bad. Yep.
Yeah, cold winters up there, man. And that was one of the reasons I moved south, other than getting divorced. But I couldn't deal with the winters anymore, man. When I left, because I moved from Jersey to Atlanta, and when I left, there was 5 feet of snow on the ground. I was like, fuck this, man. So, yeah.
Oh, well,
right on.
3 cheers to harder climb. So I hope when you come down, mate, that we're going to put on a bit of better weather than I'm experiencing right now for you, mate. So tell us all about the Australian tour, and I'll ask you a few other questions.
Yeah, well, we're doing, what are we doing? 5 Australian, I believe, and 1 in New Zealand. We haven't been there in a bit. I don't even remember the last time we were there. I believe we went through with Ugly Kid Joe. And that was quite a while ago. And now we're coming through with ZP as our singer, and it's just going to be awesome. And we'll probably have another big announcement to make soon, but I'm not allowed to make it yet. So.
Okay, I can only imagine what that would be, because it was one of the questions I was going to ask you. But let's talk about ZP, or as we say, ZP, mate. Has he introduced you guys to the game of rugby yet?
He has not. He's told us about it and that he's played it, I believe, but. Yeah, we're not really too athletic in this band. But we'll go to games, but but yeah, all his family moved from South Africa to Australia quite a long time ago, and they live outside of Melbourne.
Rightio. So it's going to be a bit of a family reunion event when you go to Melbourne, I take it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, cool. Let me tell you something else about Skid Row. So. Given I'm 40 years of age, I'm probably slap bang in the middle of your audience in terms of, or maybe on the younger end, if you know what I'm saying. But my experience was this, okay? So I went through a boarding school, and there was a bloke there was a house monitor in the corner of we had prep rooms or study rooms, and he used to have his desk in one of the corners, surrounded by, a bit of a barrier, so us juniors couldn't see over there and all the rest of it. They had their privacy as monitors, but he used to play Skid Row all the time, and he used to play guitar along to it. So that was my earliest memory. I think I could probably play myself, even though I'm a bass player, and I do play guitar. I think I could. The first guitar solo that I ever learnt was actually the one in 18 in Life.
Wow, that's a big that's a steep hill, man. Good on you.
It was. I never said I could play it well. I certainly couldn't play it on stage, but that was my earliest memory. So I've got so many memories associated with the band. I mean, sights, sounds, and smells, they all sort of come back when I hear a lot of the tracks off your first album. But you must get a lot of feedback like that. A lot of sentiment is associated with the band from a fan's perspective.
Yeah, and it's really cool when that happens, because, I mean, it happens to all of us. I always say, like, certain songs to certain people are like a photograph in time. And it just, like you said, they're like, oh my God, I remember listening to, because for me it was Kiss and Peter Frampton and bands, a lot of bands out of the 70s, Sweet and all that stuff. And like whenever I hear Show Me the Way by Peter Frampton, I always smell apple scented incense because my friend always used to burn it in the room because we'd smoke cigarettes in there and get high and stuff, and we'd burn apple incense. And whenever I hear that song, I automatically smell apple incense. But when people say that to us, it's just like, it's one of those stories that never fall flat on from an appreciation standpoint, because it's just like, wow, we say that about our favorite bands and people say that about us. It's just a really cool feeling, man, to know that you wrote a song that mattered to someone, that is one of those photographs in time that just bring back a lot of great memories,
Yeah, it's just a massive imprint on that period of time for me. Like, we talk about rugby. The school I went to was a dominantly rugby school. So, I mean, even now, to an extent, when I'm watching a game of rugby in the distant background is your music, you know that? I mean, rugby has been a big part of my life, right? But both as a player and as a kid, and also I'm a big fan of it. So, mate, it's a massive part of my life, and it's something that I don't think will probably ever go away, because it was at that era, being 12 and 13 years of age. It's like a thumbprint, isn't it? It doesn't go away. It stays there.
Yeah, man. It's crazy when that happens, and when people say it about our songs, it just blows my mind. It makes me feel really, really good.
Look, it alludes to something else. You've been around for a bloody long time, it needs to be said. And if you don't mind me saying, you're one of the grand examples of your survivors. Okay? You've been through a lot.
Thank you.
You've been through a lot. You have, in my view, you've got two classic records. All of your material has been very good, but you've got two classic albums. Of course, I'm referring to the self-titled album and Slave to the Grind, which I never thought ever got its due. And I still don't think it probably won't, because these days, you know how it is with the internet, people being edgelords. Rock and roll is sort of one of those things that's been put into the background. But what's given you guys, particularly the three core members of the band, what's giving you the endurance, if I can use that word, to just sort of keep on doing what you guys do?
I've been asked this question, and I don't know really what it is, other than we just love doing it. It's one of those things. There was a point where we couldn't get far enough away from it, and then once we had that breather and that little room, we're like, man, we can't just let this, disappear into nothingness, and we just really enjoy what we were doing. And when we got the band back together, there were some really, really lean times, and stuff would go good and then go bad, and go good and go bad. And it's weird because it took us, we basically started again in 2000, and it took us until pretty much till 2015 to say, okay, we went through personnel changes like crazy, and then once Rob joined the band, and that turned a lot of stuff around. Once Rob Hammersmith joined, and then once ZP joined, it just, everything completely changed, and people were in our corner again. They were less critical. They found, especially the trolls online, found less reasons to hate us, basically,
Oh, God.
And it's like, what, that stuff is what it is. But we all internally just started feeling really good about what we were doing. And just, we could see that things, like over the past 2.5 years, whenever ZP joined, I think that was, he came and started singing with us in 2015, I believe. And, it really started changing quick for the good, and things started getting really positive, and eyebrows went up, and like, oh man, what's going on? So, I think that's part of it, and we just keep hitting these new goals, and we're like, well, let's go out on tour again. Let's do this. Okay, let's make a new record now. Let's start writing songs, do a new record, blah, blah, blah. And now there's people coming to us with stuff, asking, hey, labels coming to us, and constant show offers coming in, and it's just a really good feeling. And when you hit that again at our age and at our stage of our career, it's just like, okay, let's keep going. Let's ride this thing till the wheels fall off,
Yeah, good on you. And I think that also alludes to the fact that the Skid Row phenomenon in 2018 is largely fan driven too. meaning that you got people like myself and old fans and that don't worry about what the media says. Don't worry about whatever the trolls are talking about. We connect with your music, and when you come and play a place like Australia, people like me are going to be in the crowd regardless of whether or not it's promoted. I mean, I know it's being promoted well, obviously, but my point is the opinion around you guys coming down, whether or not you're seen as a funky band to go and watch or what have you, people are sort of entrenched. It's like, well, it's Skid Row. It's a bit like when Kiss come and play. You've sort of arrived at that point where you're associated with legacy acts like Kiss and Aerosmith.
Oh, that's fucking, man, being in a sentence with both those names is just the highest compliment. But,
cool, yeah.
you know, it is cool. It is. Like, we still have such a huge core fan base, you know, that we're lucky. We're a really lucky band. You know, we had enough hits to where people will know most of the set, you know what I mean? And
yeah, of course, yeah.
Our hardcore fans trust us when we put out stuff that's new, and they go at it with an open mind. And you know, we got it really good. We're really lucky guys, and we're very fortunate to have such true and loyal people that listen to the band.
Hey, I'm not going to ask about Sebastian, so don't get me wrong. When I ask this question, it's going to be I want to reframe the question about Sebastian. But do you get tired of constantly being asked about it? Because obviously it's never going to happen. But is it just one of those things that journalists like to focus on because it's the one question that they think is pertinent to Skid Row?
You know, I don't know what they think, but they, you know, it is a question that comes up. It's coming up a lot less, but it is a question that comes up usually at the end of the conversation after talking about how well the band's doing. People will ask that, and I'll just be like, "You got to be kidding me, man!
Yeah,
we just did a half-an-hour interview of how good things are going."
Yeah, I think I listened to, it was either yourself or Dave who was interviewed. And of course, I know you're famously very good friends with Eddie Trunk, and I love his podcast. And I almost feel like whenever you guys get asked about the Sebastian thing, you go, you know what, go and have a listen to our discussion with Eddie. That'll answer all your questions.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go.
instead of wasting any.
Usually I start before an interview. I'm like, no Sebastian questions. I just happened to forget today.
Hey, so let's talk about your relationship and your friendship with Eddie, because I mean, I don't think anybody's been a bigger supporter of rock music, like in the world, than Eddie, because he's had the platform to be able to support it. So, how did you guys? I don't know. He was a mate of yours or a friend of yours before the band was signed. So when you guys were still treading the boards in local pubs and clubs, so how did that friendship come about?
He's a Jersey guy, and we originated out of New Jersey, and we did an interview up at his station. He was at what was it, WDHA, I think, at the time. And we did an interview with him, and he was a fan of the band already because the guy just has his ear to the ground and he knows just about everything about any band. And we just all hit it off. And he, you know, he went to I think he was working at Megaforce Records for a while, and we stayed friends through the years. And you know, honestly, I can say I could call that guy at any time of the night if I need a ride. If my car breaks down, dude, and man, I'm broken down on the Jersey Turnpike, and you give me a ride. You know, we're that kind of friend, and you know, we've gotten in arguments and made up and whatever, but he's just a cool dude, and the friendship just happened. It just happened organically and quickly, you know, because he was such a supporter of us. But we could see how he's a supporter, but he's our friend, you know.
Yeah, cool. Mate, I think I've run out of time. I've just read my email here. It tells me that I've only got 15 minutes when I thought I had 20. So what can I say, man? It's a pleasure to talk to you finally after, how many years has it been? 30 years or 25 years or something like that? So it's always a thrill for me as an indie journalist to talk to an artist whose music I've been listening to for that period of time. So thank you for making your music, and I'll certainly be in the audience when you guys tour Australia.
All right, brother. Make yourself known, so come back and have a beer.
I'd love to do that. Thank you very much,
All right,
mate.
dude.
Okay.
All right, thanks, man.
Cheers.
Bye.
You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and that was my conversation with a fella called Rachel Bolan from the band Skid Row. Thank you so much for listening.